Good evening and welcome to today's episode of Boqer School of Government. As you know, Boqer School of Government is a place where we come, we learn how to apply biblical concepts to modern day governance, political, governmental, and then societal issues. So we want to look at our government, and then we want to look at our scriptures. What does the scriptures say about the government? What is God saying about this? Well, not in terms of political parties, but then in terms of administration and governance. So that's what we're looking at essentially at Boqer School of Government. And this is, by the way, our 8th episode. And it feels so beautiful to know that we're now in our 8th episode in such a short time. And I'm happy at the feedback we're receiving, the people who write me personally and others who say that they keep learning new things on the platform, and some of the things that they've not been thinking about, they've not had it before. And so it's my pleasure to continue contributing my quota to what the Lord is doing in this end time. Today we're looking at navigating through an irresponsive government. Navigating through an irresponsive government. And our principal scripture, not the only one now, but the principal scripture is Luke 18:2-5. And so we want to find out, is there something we can find in the government, or in the Bible rather, to help us navigate through an irresponsive government? Let's start with the idea of maybe government, and then we can now draw it down to saying, okay, now we know what government is, which one is irresponsive, and what we're looking for is not the textbook definition of governance. What we're looking for is not the textbook definition of government, but the collective view of it. In any given society, there is a need for order. There is a need for order in any given society. Because if you allow societies to go on their own, they will turn out like a bush, right? So anything can grow, and it's growing anytime it wants to grow. Nobody's, tending to it. Nobody's planting it. Nobody's taking care of it, and all of those things. That's the way a society functions without an order. But then an ordered society is impossible to achieve without a set of expected behavior. So there are 3 things, or 4, or depending, those 3 things look like each other that you find in any ordered society. 3 things you find in an ordered society is 1, a set of expected behavior. So there is a certain way people expect you to behave in an ordered society. There are acceptable norms. This is how we do this. This is how we do this. This is what we accept. This is what we don't accept. And there are laws. Expected behavior are, things you just expect others to do. They are not exactly written down. It's not a law. There's no law that says you must greet people good morning when you wake up. It's not in the Constitution. I mean, have you guys seen you must say good morning when you wake up in Nigeria's Constitution? You can't find it there. You can't find it in an act of parliament. But then it's an expected behavior. It's expected of you. And then if you go to other cultures, for instance, in the Southwest, where you have Yorubas, there's a way they greet. I mean, there is a way you're expected to dobale, to at least genuflect or to bow a bit to greet an elderly person. There's a way you have to greet. Those things are not written down in any constitution. But then these are expected behaviors. So 1, without that body of expected behavior, you can't have an orderly society or an ordered society. Number 2, there is something called acceptable norms. This is what we accept. These are the norms. This is the culture. Okay, let's call it culture. This is the culture or the norms. And it is your culture and the norms that it fits into your laws. So there are some things that are cultural, but they are not in the law. They are cultural, they're in the law. For instance, our way of worship is a norm. There is no place that says in the Constitution of Nigeria that every Sunday you must go to church, or every Friday you must go to mosque. It's not in the constitution. But then you find that people behave that way. It's acceptable for people to worship God. And then even as you move from one place of worship to the other, there are places of worship where they don't have a law saying you must not dance. But once you start dancing, they'll be looking at you, what is this one doing? And there are other places that if you come in, there is a way you're expected to behave. Those are the acceptable norms, expected behavior, and the laws. But all of these things I've mentioned now are in and of themselves incomplete without a set of reward. We are drawing the line now. First, we started from the society to say that you cannot have an ordered society without these three ingredients: expected behavior, acceptable norms, and laws. But then, whether you're talking about expected behavior, accepted norms, and laws, the society and these three things I've mentioned are incomplete if there is not a consistent set of reward. So for instance, the expected behavior now can be being polite or saying good morning to an elder when you wake up in the morning. That's an expected behavior. But then people don't know that there is a reward to that. If you keep greeting people good morning in the morning, you have a reward. So the reward is that the society sees you as a well-groomed child or a well-groomed person, a well-mannered person. Then there is another reward too. The negative of it is also true, because if you don't do this, the society tends to see you as an uncultured person, as a wayward person, as a disrespectful person. So as little as saying good morning is in the morning, it has a reward, whether positive or negative. Then when you talk about culture, like the example I gave you, there are some places you go to, there are churches, there is no constitution saying that nobody dances in this place. Once everybody is walking holy, and you start dancing, well, the tune will not even be that much to make you to dance. But just in case you are hearing something else in your head, once you start dancing, there's a reward. The instant reward is that people will look at you as if you're wearing the back of your clothes. That stare in itself is to discourage you from doing that. So that stare, that feeling of discomfort that others have around you when you do things that they don't approve of, that's a reward. And so if you come into that place, even if you are a dancer, even if you like dancing, because there is a set of reward in that environment, you would ordinarily want to fit into that environment. Or there are some people who don't care about rewards. They will still go ahead and express themselves the best way they know how to. So without a consistent set of reward, your expected behavior, your acceptable norms, and your laws are incomplete. Then, what is a street light, for instance? Now we're talking about laws now. What is a street light, for instance, if anybody can go at any time they want, as some people do in Nigeria? If a street light is there, but there's no penalty for driving against the traffic, or there's no reward. Yeah, there are rewards for driving against the traffic. You could be caught, there could be penalties, and then there is also positive reward, because like if you're driving now and you see a traffic light and it says stop and you stop, people will be looking at you, oh, this one is responsible, this one. So that's even that feeling of, being a responsible person is also a consistent set of reward. Now, if you reduce all these things to their lowest term, you will indeed find out that without the instrument of government, your laws, your norms, and your expected behavior will not be enough to give you a cohesive or an ordered society. Why is that? Because if you stretch it a bit further, you will see that those rewards we've talked about for upholding or breaking the norms, upholding or breaking the expected behavior or laws, these laws or these rewards cannot be administered, cannot be engaged without an instrument of enforcement. And so if you reduce it to its lowest term, the government becomes an instrument for ensuring an ordered society. So what are we talking about here? In your house, there is your mom that says, have you greeted your auntie? Have you greeted your dad? Go and say good morning to your dad. Say sorry to your siblings. Those are instruments of enforcement. In the church, People looking at you awkwardly can also be an instrument of enforcement. But when it comes to traffic offenses and all other things that you find in laws, there must be an instrument of enforcement, because without enforcement, the law is not even what the paper it is written on. So if you reduce these things we've discussed to their lowest end, the government becomes an instrument for ensuring an ordered society. But ordered society is just one of the things you want to get out of a society, orderliness. But once you have achieved order, that order is to deliver on another promise, which is harnessing societal resources to achieve societal goals. Harnessing societal resources to achieve societal goals. So what do we mean by this? Yes, everybody is now orderly. People drive to work, people come back from work, people obey the traffic laws, people don't steal, people don't kill, people don't, it's an ordered society. Everything is functioning. The train comes on time, leaves on time, the healthcare system is working. But then if people don't find themselves, those things that they need healthcare, it's not provided. They need security, it's not provided. They need education, it's not provided. They need water, it's not provided. They want to do their businesses, the business environment is not there. They want to live life to the fullest, but insecurity is there. Then that order is not enough. Indeed, it will be turned into chaos, because order in itself is not the ultimate goal of the society. The ultimate goal of the society is to harness the resources of the society, whether they be mineral resources, whether they be human resources, whether they be material resources, whatever the resources you can find in any given society, to harness those resources in a way that achieves societal goals. Stay with me. So when you now have gotten to this point, you see that there are two planks for achieving goals. One, there is the individual plank, and two, there is the collective plank. The individual and the collective. So the individual plank is all those decisions you make daily. Your decision to acquire a master's degree, to acquire a bachelor's degree, to apply to this, to buy this book, to read this book, to behave this way, to work hard, to pay attention, to be those are the individual contributors to success. Individual contributors to success are those things that you yourself can determine and can change at any point you want it changed. So for instance, you can decide, if you're a businessman, you can decide, okay, this year I've been selling to 200 customers. I want to make it 300 customers. So maybe you can begin aggressive marketing. You can have a social media team. You can have a marketing department. You can hire more people. These are things you can control as a person. Those are the individual planks. But then there are others that are not in your control. For instance, you don't determine the monetary policy. You don't determine that. So yes, you're a businessman. You can say, I want to sell to more people this year, but you cannot determine the value of the naira, for instance. You cannot determine the economic policy of the country, for instance. No matter how you say work hard. Yeah, the naira is still there. You can't determine the price of fuel, for instance. You can't determine the price of the tariff for electricity. You may not be able to determine the amount of electricity that will be supplied by the public grid. Those are some of the things. So we've distinguished that there is the personal pathway to success and there is the collective pathway to success. Anybody that finds himself in an ordered society must hold on to the two planks before you can succeed. And we're getting to our topic today. We're just laying the foundation. Remember, our topic is navigating through an irresponsive government. So for you to achieve success in any given society, the two must work. The personal efforts must be there. You're going to school, you're getting good grades, you're being adept at your craft. You might not even be going to school for you. You might be knowing how to do particular business, learning how to sing, learning how to offer something of value, whatever it is, but that personal effort must be there. But people are beginning to find out, because, there was this generation before us that has been focused on personal development. That period of personal development, people were buying personal development books. You had a lot of motivational speakers to that generation. You have a lot of people that are struggling, and those things are good. But eventually, people pursued personal development to the detriment of collective development. And they began to find out quickly that, look, if you are in a dysfunctional society and you read all the books you can read, become all the good person you can become, the dysfunction in the society will place a limit as to what you can achieve. And this is not encouraging people to be lazy. This is not encouraging people to be laissez-faire, because we will get to it. There is only so much you can do for yourself as an individual. There is only so much you can accomplish as an individual. In fact, nobody is an island. That if you had 3 million in the account, for instance, that by one careless policy of the government, that your 3 million can now be reduced to $3,000. You see where we're going to now. And so there was this generation that was interested in personal development to the detriment. So if you're telling them, come, let us vote, they said, don't worry yourself, I'm focused on, my business. So you find that a lot of, this is not to be picky, but if you're going to, you find that there are people who focus so much on their business. They are so business minded. They focus so much on their business. They don't care who becomes the local government chairman. They don't care who becomes the councillor. They don't even care who becomes the market leader, the market association chairperson. They are not interested. They are just running to their shop every day to open it. And it's beautiful. There are others who are focused on their career. If I can get a pay raise, if I can get the next promotion, if I can just get my SAT, if I can get my GRE, if I just can get my master's, or if I can just acquire my second master's, if I can just meet my deadline, all of those things, I think I'll be better. And they eventually found out that if you find yourself in a dysfunctional society, that your personal development will account for a lot, but you will still not achieve your maximum potential because the collective is lacking. And that's when people started immigrating. And so they felt that, you will see someone who is not doing so well in Nigeria, and then you put them in a system in the United Kingdom, in USA, in Canada, all of a sudden, that person is doing so well. Right? And so people began to find that, look, I have this personal development. I have developed my competencies. I've developed my character so much so that if I can find myself planted in a functional society, I will blossom. And that's why you see a lot of Nigerians doing so well. I think in America today, and Nigerian Americans are I think I've forgotten how they say it, but I think the most successful immigrant group in America are Nigerian Americans. I think they are also the ones that have the most, first and second degrees. They are the most educated. They are the most hardworking. That's because these people have found the resilience in a country. They've developed their characters to some point, and you now carry them and put them in a functional system. They are thriving. If you bring in those beautiful people back to Nigeria, you will find that they will still do well, but there's a limit to what they can do. So in a dysfunctional society, you cannot innovate your way out of societal dysfunction. So two things, and there are also people who find themselves in a functional society, but they have refused to develop themselves to benefit from the functional society. So today, you find that even in America, there are still poor people. You find that even in the UK, there are still poor people. You find that even if you make the conditions right for Nigerians now, that you make electricity 24/7, the naira is stable, economy is stable, education is working, you will still find that there are people who will still amount to nothing, simply because they have neglected the personal contribution to development. And so, you don't want to leave either of the two. You must fight on two hands. You must be developing personally. If you need to get more degrees, get more degrees. If you need to read more, read more. If you need to fine-tune your craft, fine-tune your craft. If you need to strategize better in your business, by all means do. But then, those things are limited if you don't match it with equally societal development. And so the government becomes now the tool for achieving that collective development. No matter how rich you are, in Nigeria today. You cannot construct a federal highway. So the best you can do for yourself is that you can tar the road that leads to your house. But that's not the only road you are going to use. So if you are rich, but the government is not functioning, the best you can do, you can buy a Hilux, you can buy a 4x4 or the one we call Jeep here. But at the end of the day, you will still carry that your Hilux and 4x4 into untarred roads. No matter how big you are. Okay, you can say, okay, I am so rich now. Let me help myself out of insecurity. And you remember that even in modern cities, years ago, the only thing you needed to do to keep yourself safe is to erect a fence and you're safe. At some point, there were some levels of insecurity. People began to innovate. Oh, let them put bottles on their fences. If you've been around for a long time, you will notice that there are old houses that have bottles, broken bottles you put in your fences. That was the only thing you needed to do to be safe. Once you can put broken bottles on your walls, you're good. At some point, it wasn't enough. You now needed to put electric wire guards. You now have to hire guards. You now have to add dogs. Now it's no longer enough. You even have to have police protection. You have to have military protection. Yet, even in police protection, we have seen that it's failing, that you now have to have police plus military protection plus bulletproof cars. And we are telling our politicians and our business elites, you cannot innovate your way out of insecurity. Look, you needed only a high wall yesterday. Today you need high wall plus policemen. Today you need high wall plus policemen plus bulletproof cars. And we are telling them the criminals will soon acquire the competencies to pin you down in a bulletproof vehicle and set it on fire. Because it's not fireproof. There are several ways you can breach a bulletproof vehicle. And very soon, you guys just take note of what we're saying. Very soon, you will begin to see people killed right in their bulletproof vehicles. And so, even if you're going to have bulletproof vehicles, if you don't solve security at the collective level or at the societal level, you cannot solve it individually. Yeah, you can try to, you don't go out at night, don't, enter buses you don't know. But if you allow insecurity, it will come to the point where they will tell you don't go out at all. Because if you go out, whether it is in the morning, you remember years ago, our parents would tell us, oh, don't go out at night, because once you are in the day, you are good. But today, even in the daytime, you are not safe. So the people who are innovating means of, okay, I'm not going out at night again. Let me just, once it's 4 o'clock, I'll start heading home. People have been kidnapped by 3 a.m., 1 a.m., 1 p.m. rather, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 10 a.m. People say, okay, if you just go to your house, people have been in their houses, like in the capital city. People are coming to kidnap people even in the capital city. So you can't innovate your way out of. There are some problems that can only be solved at the collective level. Security is one of them. You can try, yes, you're not going to be careless to be, going into all of those insecure areas. You're not going to be careless with your safety. You're going to do your bit. But that your bit is not enough if the government is not doing theirs. Yes, as a business person, you're going to do all your business ideas, but those your business ideas are not enough if you don't have economic policies that are sound. You can get all the promotion you get, do all the things. In fact, there are some companies now, they are now paying their top earners in dollars, in US dollars. But even if you earn your money in US dollars, you are still going to spend it and convert it to Naira. Even if you convert and get more, hold on, you are still going to be going through the society. For instance, as I go through the capital city in Abuja, have you noticed that even in, even in the so-called posh areas of Abuja, like say Maitama, Asokoro, Mabushi, all of those places, there is nowhere you will go to, you will not see slum, you will not see people who ordinarily cannot afford a house there, but they find a way to live in tents. They find a way to live in shanties. Even in your banana island, you're this, you're this. So those people, because people thought, oh, let's go and buy a land in banana island in Asokoro, it should be safe. And we're telling you that even in that your Asokoro, look around you. And you will see keke, you see Okada, you see people, look around you well. You can't innovate your way out of a dysfunctional society. And so even you that is now earning in dollars, that live in your Asokoro, you will still pass chanties before you get to your house. You will still pass. There is no estate. There is nowhere in Lagos, in Abuja, call all the major cities in Nigeria, you know, that you still don't find security risk. Even when they have done everything, you will still see a very big estate. All the people living there are billionaires. But once you come out of the estate, before you drive for 1 or 2 minutes, even for companies who are now paying their staff who live in Nigeria in USD, you will still take your USD and pass the chances as you are going home in your bulletproof vehicle. The people you are passing have not eaten. And so when the society is dysfunctional, your safety lies partly in your hands and partly in the hands of a collective decision. The economy partly in your hands, partly in the hands of the economy. The health is also partly in your hands, partly in the hands of a collective system. Yeah, we can give examples with health because there are places just by dialing an emergency number, ambulances could come pick you up at any time, take you to the hospital and all of those things. Today, in a dysfunctional society, you may have the money, but no ambulance is coming for you. In fact, that day, the government can decide to block the road. And so, yeah, you have the money, you can afford the best hospitals, but if the road is not accessible, then so every other thing. So if it has been determined that one leg of your success is dependent on the collective, whereas you have your spiritual growth, you have your personal growth, you have your economic growth, you have your academic growth, you have all of these things that you can control as a person, that you can mix all of these things to get a better outcome. Because even in that dysfunctional society, so if people blame the Naira for their inability to, you would say, the people who are making money even with this Naira thing you're talking about, do they have to? So yes, there is a personal effort you have to put in. But if you have done that and you have achieved the highest level possible, if you ignore the collective, then there's a problem. So what do you then do when you as a person work so hard? You're very dedicated in your business, you're very dedicated in your career, you're very dedicated in your craft, yet the government, whose responsibility it is to supply all those you cannot supply yourself at a personal level, is not responsive. How do you navigate through that irresponsive government? So while we have established that the government is important, why is the government important? It is important because there are some things you cannot do for yourself that you must have to do at a collective level. No billionaire in Nigeria today, including Dangote, can tar all the roads he will use in a year. The best you can do is to tar the road that leads to your local government, or call your friend who is a governor to tar the road that leads to your area. Outside of that, if you are going to tar, okay, you're going to go to the airport. From your house, you tar it to the airport. And from the airport, you want to go and see a friend, you tar the road to your friend's house. And from that friend, you can't. So at the issue of roads, again, you can't innovate your way out of it. At the issue of the economy, no matter what you do, it is the government that determines economic and monetary policies. Yes, you can decide to be saving all your money in cryptocurrencies. You can decide to be saving all your money in USDT, in dollar, and all of those things. But then the economy is still affecting you one way or the other. Oh, you can decide, okay, because of insecurity, I'm no longer going to be traveling by road. Even in that airport, if the government is not working, you have periodic flight delays, flight cancellations, all of it, all outside of your control. Okay, if you say, okay, now I know what to do, let me buy private jets. You still have to depend on the NIMET to give you accurate weather forecast. Because without the government giving accurate weather forecast, then you're not going to be flying. You are still going to be flying in and through airports that are managed by the government. So even if you have private jets, you are still regulated by the government. But the thing with the society is this: instead of doing their best to get a responsive government, they leave the government aspect and say, all our government are fools, politicians are bad, let's just leave them, let me buy private jets. So when they meet challenges with logistics, their response is private jets. When they meet healthcare challenges, private. When they meet education challenges, private education. When they meet water issues, private borehole. When they meet electricity issues, they generate their own water. When anytime they meet anything, because it is more difficult to solve problems at the collective level. Look, it is easier to buy private jet than to fix Nigeria's public transport system. Although private jet is expensive, but people find it easier to put, it's easier to say, let us buy bulletproof, than for all the stakeholders in the town to say, look, this insecurity, let us discuss it. Who are the people who are kidnapping people? What do they want? Are they freedom fighters? Are they agitating? Is there something they want? Are they criminals? What is this jobless? Whatever it is, let us solve it. But instead of coming together to solve it, you know what people will do? They will save money to buy a bulletproof vehicle. They will save money to hire police. As we speak now, there are people here now who are planning, maybe not here, maybe other places. Once they hit money now, they'll just go and get, 6 policemen. Once you have a Hilux in front, a Hilux at back, 3 policemen in front, 3 police, I'm good to go. And you now have, that's the goal of the average Nigerian politician or average Nigerian businessman. To get enough money. But this thing you will know that the society is dysfunctional is that these people, when they go to UK, no policeman, no mega, no bodyguard. They walk freely. When they go to US, they walk freely. When they go to Canada, they walk freely. But here they have to be in police, and even with police, they still have to be inside bulletproof vehicles. Dysfunctional society. And even when they go to church, there are policemen in the church. They go to mosque, you must have police. No freedom, no liberty. Or you will say that police protection is a status thing for Nigerians. They use it to show that, I've arrived. But look, that's not the best way to live. To always be looking over your shoulder. Every time you're looking over your shoulder, because the society is dysfunctional. So yes, now that we've agreed that the government is important, how do we navigate through an irresponsive government? An irresponsive government is a government we tell, we need roads, and they don't fix it. We need electricity. We need this, they don't fix it. That's what we call an irresponsive government. Is there something we can find in the scripture that will help us navigate? And that takes us to our anchor scripture, Luke chapter 18, verse 1. Then Jesus, I'm reading from, this is BSB, so let me go to KJV. Then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray at all times and not lose heart. To pray. In a certain town, there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected men. Anytime you have a dysfunctional society, the very first marker of a dysfunctional society is that you have rulers, judges, elected people, political elites. They don't fear God. They don't respect man. In America or in UK, not that their politicians are God-fearing. They are not so much God-fearing, but at least they respect men. Because they know that there are certain things they will do. People will force them to resign. And so they don't steal because they are better people than Nigerians. If you carry those people and put them in Nigerians, they will steal the system and they will eat thank you and very much at the same time. But they respect man. But in a dysfunctional society, and when you have an irresponsive government, the marker there is that your political actors fear neither God nor man. Close your eyes for a minute and imagine if our governors all feared God. Just close your eyes and imagine that all our governors, all of them fear God. They don't steal because they are afraid of God. They regard God. And let me even say one thing. I think someone is thinking about it here. I don't know, but just list came to my heart. And usually it's because it's a question someone is asking. Someone is saying, oh, is it not better that we start swearing in our politicians with local juju, so that way, if they steal our money, juju will kill them and all of those things? And my answer to you is, it's easier, David found out, to fall inside the hand of if man is pursuing you, you can run to God. But if God himself is the one that is after you. But the thing with God is that his judgment is delayed. This topic is expanding now. God's judgment is delayed. And it's for a good reason that his judgment is delayed. But we don't like for God's judgment to be delayed. And at the same time, we like for God's judgment to be delayed. When we are the offender, we will like for God's judgment to be delayed. But when another person is the offender, we will love for God to judge them instantly. And this happens in your government. We want, anybody that steals, we want God to just slap them and they die. That's why we've been praying for Buhari to die, Tinubu to die, everybody. God is not in the business of killing politicians. That's not it's not his business. Yes, everything Buhari did, he will be required an account. Everything Tinubu did, he will give an account. Everything you are doing, you will give an account. But usually it is at God's own appointed time. And he is a very patient God. But we don't like for God to be patient with others. So imagine that God is the God of sharp that you like, that gives instant punishment. So immediately you want to say that thing, immediately you want to commit that's your sin you committed today. And as soon as you are thinking about it, a hand knocks on your head from heaven and you die. That's not the way God functions. God is a merciful God who gives Esther a second chance, Chinarus to a second chance, Koko a second chance, Kosi Sochukwu a second chance, Livingstone a second chance, Simon a second chance, Rita a second chance. But even at that, he gives Tinubu a second chance, Atiku a second chance, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Buhari, Jonathan. That's the way he works. So if you want God not to judge you instantly, you want him to forgive you, you want him to wait till the final judgment, but you don't want him to wait with others. So because God's judgment is not instant, people tend to think, God will not do anything, God will not say anything. This man stole how many billion? Has he died? This person did even, has he died? It's only foolish people that will think because something is delayed that it will not come. God's judgment is sure. If you read the book of Revelation, you will know more about that. God's judgment is sure. But because of his mercies, he can choose to delay it. And because of this delay, you can have a situation of Luke chapter 18 verse 2, where your political actors don't fear God. And it's a huge problem if you have political actors who don't fear God. Because they are in such a place where their decisions are consequential. I've kept giving this instance. If God makes you the governor of a state, he gives the lives of everybody in the state in your hands as the governor. As a governor, you can determine how many people that will die as a result of preventable healthcare issues because you stole the money that was meant to provide oxygen in the hospital. You can determine how many pregnant women that will die while giving birth because the essential supplies they need are not there. You can determine how many children that will not get quality education because you can determine even how many people that will be kidnapped by unknown gunmen because you took the security votes and used it to buy a house in London. So if you have political actors that fear God, a significant proportion of the societal needs are solved. But the other leg is also true, that not only do they not fear God, they don't even respect you as a citizen. They don't fear you. And Jesus is telling us that this is a terrible combination to have. Like in America, their leaders are not so much godly. But they fear the people. They fear, if I steal and it gets out, people will come out on the street. Because in their society, it's not acceptable for a political actor to act a certain way. So if that political actor acts in that certain way, the people will pour out in the streets to demand. They will start talking. The media will be on the person's case till he resigns. In fact, you don't even need to steal in the UK to be forced to resign. Just because the economy is bad, They will keep there. For how many years now? No prime minister in the UK has served out their tenure. From Liz Truss to Gordon Brown to, I've even forgotten their name. No prime minister in the UK for some years now has been able to serve out their term. No government has been able to sustain themselves in office. They will keep harassing you until you resign, because those societies, their leaders don't fear God, but at least they fear men. In Nigeria today, you have a terrible combination. Your governors hardly fear God, and they don't regard you. And Jesus is giving you that this is why your society is dysfunctional. But he also gave us something that we need to do when we find ourselves in that situation. So he says, in a certain town, there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected men. And there was a widow in that town who kept appealing to him, give me justice against my adversary. Now, this widow is a metaphor for Nigerians. This widow is a metaphor for people who find themselves in irresponsive government, because you have found out that there are things you can't do on your own. For instance, the killings in the Middle Belt. They are crying to the government, give us justice against our enemies. In terms of economy, many young Nigerians are asking, give us economic respite. Don't dash us money, just let the economy be stable. We are entrepreneurs, but just stabilize the currency. Give us a level playing field. We are all entrepreneurs. We can hustle, but they will not hear. Just give us a stable currency. Don't pay, in America, they give people who are unemployed, weekly, monthly stable, or don't give us, just stabilize. That's all Nigerians are asking for. Give me justice. So the metaphor of a widow is a metaphor of someone who is powerless on his own, who on his own cannot get that justice. But he needs to appeal to this judge who already, like you have in Nigeria, don't fear God nor man. But for a while, Luke chapter 18 verse 4, your politicians will refuse. Your Supreme Court justices, they will refuse. Your presidents, they will refuse. The governors, they will refuse. The senators, they will still be buying themselves cars worth of 160 million. They will refuse. They will refuse. And this is where it gets frustrating for a lot of people who are untrained. Because they think, once you say, okay, we don't want it again, it will all of a sudden be served. No, that's not the way it works. And by the way, for anyone who finds themselves in a constitutional democracy operates a bipolar, I won't call it bipolar. Bipolar in the sense that it has two poles. Right? There is this demand side of governance and there is the supply side of democratic governance. So quickly, the demand side of democratic governance are people who say this is what we want. And the supply side of democratic governance are the people whose responsibility it is to fulfill those societal needs or wants. So your presidents are in the executive side of democratic governance. So they will supply roads. We need roads, they fix it. We need electricity. We need this, we need that. Those are the supply side guys. But then you have also your demand side guys. The civil society, the citizens, the political parties, especially opposition political parties, whose job it is to say, this is what we want. And anytime you find democracy, you can never find a democracy in the world where their supply is ahead of demand. Nowhere in the world. Everywhere you see democracy working, the supply side is more active, more organized, and always ahead of the demand side. Because if you ask the government to do 10 things for you, they might do 3 and you are still demanding. So even till today, people in the UK are still demanding for better. People in the United States are still demanding for better. Even in that Canada where we are all running to go, meaning young Nigerians are running to go, people in Canada are still demanding for better. Did you know that farmers in Canada, I think, use their tractors to do a movement? This is what I'm telling you is not up to a week ago or so. Farmers in Canada are protesting. They are demanding for better. In India, I think it's not up to 2 years ago, they protested, demanding for better. In the UK, I think this is not up to 7 months ago, people were protesting police brutality on cats and stray dogs. What were they doing? They carried placards, they came out of the street. We no go agree, we no go agree. Then you no go agree is that, oh, you know what? The police people are so brutal to stray cats and stray dogs. In Nigeria, our police is killing people. But in the UK, the problem is the police is mistreating cats. And they are still demanding. Because every time the demand side must be ahead of the supply side. But you find in a lethargic society that people sit back and they want to sit in their houses and governance be served to them a la carte. And that's not the way it works. Look at the Bible. For a while, your politicians will refuse. But later he said to himself, though I fear neither God nor man, yet because this widow keeps pestering me, I will give her justice. Not because I am a good man. The reason is so that she will stop wearing me out with her perpetual request. Perpetual here is unending request. And this is where I now see that a lot of Nigerians don't have the resilience to request perpetually. Like I hear people say, Chima, I'm not going to vote again. My votes don't count. I came out, I stood in the sun, in the rain, I voted for people. What happened? INEC happened. And I will not. And people think that you just vote once, and all of a sudden the system will be good. No, that's not the recommendation of our Christ Jesus. He said you have to keep at it. So there was a tweet I wrote someday. I said it will take 220 million Lekki toll gate massacres to bring us down. That before the government can bring us down, don't say, oh, when we come out to protest, they will kill. How many people would they kill? But what people don't know is this, that the irrational fear of death, Jesus says that he who wants to save his life will lose it, and then he who loses his life is a hyperbole. Oxymoron, but it's important that you take note of that. Do you know that anti-malarials today is 3,250, a good anti-malarial drugs? Between last month and now, do you know how many people who used to buy anti-malarials at 500 naira? Just when they have malaria, when they have sickness, they don't even go to hospital to check. They just go to chemist and mix drugs. Today, because they cannot afford anti-malarials, people are dying of malaria. Malaria. I'm not saying people who are kidnapped. I'm not talking about people who are killed by kidnapping, banditry, people who die in accidents. I'm talking about ordinary malaria, Malaria kills more people in any given week in Nigeria. Much more than all the people cumulatively have killed since 1960 to now. All the people that were killed in Lekki Toll Gate massacre and all the people that have been kidnapped by government on the account of their activism. If you carry all of them since 1960 to now, the number is not up to the amount of people who die weekly on the account of their inability to afford basic medications. Basic medications. I was covering an event. This lawmaker in my place, he was doing free medical outreach every year. So I covered that event. Our organization covered that event for 3 years. And in one of the years, a particular woman had done, I think it's either hernia, I can't remember the particular sickness, the condition. But 3 of her kids had the condition. So in the first year, they did one of her kids. They didn't do it for the other 2. And the last time I was there, they did for the other 2. And then the doctor was so furious with the woman. I said, Madam, didn't you know that your child had this sickness? What were you doing? Why can you be so careless with the life of your children? The doctor was all mad. And the woman was just crying. And the woman said, Doc, I knew that my children had these issues, but I didn't have the money. These are medical procedures that will, at that time, it will cost them, I think, 80 or 90,000, I can't remember, in a good hospital to take care of either hernia or appendicitis. I can't remember which one now. And every day, this woman is watching her children die daily. Not dying physically, but every time they are crying, mommy is paining me again. And the just 80,000 will stop this, but this woman does not have it. And she was lucky that in one of the years, some guy came and did for one of the children. And then she has to wait for another year. And that year, Thankfully, do you know how many people who watch their children die because they can't afford medical bills? Preventable sicknesses. And so if you tell these people, come out, let us demand for credible government, they will tell you, no, I don't want to die. But you are in your house, malaria is killing you. The number of people that have been kidnapped just this January alone, kidnapped, they didn't do anything. They were just traveling. They were just minding they did not criticize the government though. They did not protest. They wanted to stay safe. Some of them were even sleeping in their houses. They didn't do anything bad. They were just kidnapped. Do you know how many people that were just kidnapped? Let me just go to the village. They were kidnapped. Even in the capital city, this year alone, the number of people who have been kidnapped is a far enormous compared to the number of people oppressive regimes can kill. So if you tell people, oh, come out, let us demand for, they say, oh, yes, the government knows that they cannot kill everybody. So what they do is advanced level mind manipulation. So they come out and kill 1 or 2 people, 3 or 4 people, and then everybody goes back home and sleeps. Then malaria will start killing them. Insecurity will start killing them. Economy will start killing them. Okay, let's even leave. The number of young Nigerians who have died attempting to go into Libya and all of those things, they are much more than the people that have died in answers. Just the number of people who their boats capsized. There are a lot of young Nigerians in illegal detention in several countries just because they want to run away. There are people who have died. Their parents don't know that they are now dead. Nobody knows their whereabouts because of it. So the point is that bad governance kills faster than demanding for credible government. You see, bad governance, it kills in a suppressive government, that's a terrible government, can kill 100, but bad governance in itself kills in their tens of thousands. And so if you tell people, come out and persist, because Jesus has given us a formula. He says, the formula is not knocking on the door once. Keep knocking on the door, it will open. The government is not going to say, okay, we have agreed because they are good people. No, because you have. So that was what we discussed. We said, Supreme Court will not give you justice if you don't apply this formula. Appeal Court will not give Nigerians justice if we don't apply this formula. INEC will not be credible if we don't apply this formula. We have to worry them. So whatever it is that we have found out that, look, we cannot solve this issue on our own. Yeah, the only instrument that can solve this issue is the collective instrument, which is the government. And the people in the government, they don't want to solve this issue. And so are we now going to go home and die? No, the question is, what are we going to do about it? And what we're going to do about it is through consistent demanding. And when we say demanding, it is not riot. No. Sometimes, pestering can be in the sense of, okay, what do we want even as Nigerians? Okay, we want good roads. Who do we know that can give us this road? He said, okay, let's talk to the local government chairperson. No, it's not his responsibility. By even organizing ourselves, you see, there are some problems that can only be solved by organizing. There are some problems in your streets, in my streets, that we can just come together and address. And as I wind down on this, I'll give you the instance of this market that caught fire in my state. And so the governor went there and promised them heaven on earth. This market, we will rebuild, we will do this, we'll do this. He promised everything. Any market, any major market that catches fire, the governors will go. And then after the governor had made his political statement and left, the market leadership, the market union, is now supposed to go to the government house to say, Mr. Governor, you promised us firefighting trucks. You promised this. When they got to the government house, the market leadership now, they got there, drank champagne, and the governor gave them a few envelopes. They went back to their fellow market people and said, the governor is not a good governor. If you had more credible market union leadership, that outcome would have been slightly better. So if citizens don't have credible platforms or credible platforms of engagement, for instance, If you tell people, become member of political party, they say, no, 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 we don't want all of those things. And we say, your church takes more time than some political parties. You don't even have to attend party meetings until election year. But by you being a member of the place, you have the responsibility now to be part of the delegates who will not sell their votes. Because we always talk about those delegates who are selling their votes. They are selling their votes because you are not a delegate. Why don't you become a member of the political party so that you can nominate credible candidates? So at that level of organization, so by participating, so it's not always when we say persist. It can be when we need to, we can hit the streets, like you saw what happened. The church is leading it in Plateau State. The church is demonstrating, the church is showing their anger at what is happening. And I don't expect that the government will listen. But if they demonstrate and go home and sleep, of course, government will. If they stay at it, they will have to eventually force the hands of the government. Again, not because the government is good, but because of continual worrying, as you saw in Luke chapter 18, verse 5. Luke 18, verse 5. Lastly, there are instruments available to us as citizens if we want to achieve all our goals. 1. The personal development, minding your business, doing all that you're supposed to do. 2. The people in government, minding our government. Because there are problems we can't solve at an individual level. We must have to solve it at a collective level. And when people in government become more responsive, the code of Luke chapter 18 is telling us that we will have to keep demanding, we will have to keep voting, we will have to keep crying, we have to keep shouting until our voices are heard. Don't just say, oh, I voted, because usually when you attempt it once and go home, you've been defeated. But when you attempt it once, you feel, okay, it didn't work, what do I need to do? Go back. But I find that people are more persistent in their private lives than they are in their collective life. You find people, they've done leather business, it didn't work. They are now in pure water business. They are now in, bag business. They are now, social media content creators. All of a sudden, they are now programmers. They've tried in the last 4 years. They've tried their hands at several things. It didn't work, and they keep working it until it works. But once we do one protest, we say, no, we did protest. What did the answers achieve? Or what did I achieve with the 2023 elections? Just once. And I say to you, if you have that same attitude in your personal life, if you had that same attitude in your university days, if you had that same attitude in your business life, how would it have turned out? So while we find that people are persistent when it comes to their private endeavor, we find also that they don't seem to have that level of tolerance, that level of grit to stay at political issues, to stay at public policy issues, to stay at collective issues until they are resolved. Yes, the politician told you that he will fix the road and he did not fix it, but we have to keep working hard until the roads are fixed. I will at this point invite us to make our contributions, and then we will take questions as much as we can and then call it a day. Okay, Mr. Simon, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I greet, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Chima, God bless you.
Bless you too.
Matter of fact is that you're really expositing everything as it is, and I really picked some salient points you made when you're talking about the individual plans and the collective plan. Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Yes, and I quite agree with you totally that is exactly, you nailed it, and sincerely, even sometimes when I have to have a discussion with some of my people, especially, okay, I'm Igbo, so when I talk to my people about having to get involved in governance, because I see that there is actually a depth of participation by our people. You go to the police, no interest. You go to the military, everything is just not as it should. But they will always tell you that, look, like, let me just mind my own business, and then God helping me, I'll just, just get money, let my business survive. I take care of my family, and I beg, let Nigeria go. That is the attitude. And that attitude, and I dare tell them that sometimes, look, and it has happened before, that you are a very big businessman, you import all manner of things. One decision by the government, will rubbish all your containers on the high sea. Either they will be seized or they will be delayed so that your goods will get spoiled. So you discover that the quest to just do your own thing will work for you after all. And like I said, you also know when you talk about that, even the highest thing you can do as the richest person is that you can buy yourself a private jet. You buy yourself a private jet, where you're going to fly it. You will still depend on the government giving you, flight directions and every information before you can do that. But people, unfortunately, are so, and I don't know how this mindset is going to change, because I tell you, it is still there, and it's eating people, even up until now. Like you mentioned about the election that we had last time. Young men came out. That's about the highest time that young men came, youth came to vote, and now they have been beaten to it. Because I tell you, to a very large extent, not many will want to venture into voting for Nigeria anymore, and that means they are indeed beaten for real. Because it happens to you once, and you threw in the towel. The government goes on and continues to smile. So I'm very impressed that knowing that other people hold the same view, that it is the government, which is the collective, which is the general, is what all of us have to work towards. In this country, come to think of it, you build a house. I stay in Port Harcourt, there's some area of Port Harcourt. You buy land with your money. You do the road, maybe you grade the land, the road to the place you bought the land yourself. You build the house yourself. Borehole, you do yourself. The light poles you buy, you mount the poles. The NEPA officials will come and then step down the light to your house, and then for that moment you start paying. I ask myself, I said I was going to ask this question, and let me ask it now. What is the reason for me to continue to pay tax as a citizen in this country? What do I gain? I've been doing this. What do I even gain at all? And why should I continue to pay? So if there's going to be a response to this, but I'm just so impressed that this view of the collective is being held by another person other than my very self, and I believe all of us here also will adhere to this fact, so that if we can sell this idea around, who knows, in the course of time things will get a lot better, just maybe. So my contribution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayamu, for that. I quite agree with you that the government hasn't been responsive, and a lot of people think that they can innovate their way out of dysfunction. And we're waiting for them. Because sometimes for you to persist, it doesn't mean carrying placards. There are people that can just, like, when you look at the investment appetite of the average Nigerian, especially the people you referenced, they like investing in buying things they can see. When you tell them, invest in, for instance, things like media, that media can help you to shape the minds of the society so that you can, try to educate them to a point where they have a predictable behavior or they move in a certain direction. No. If you tell people, okay, invest in civil society, you find credible individuals working on credible things for the benefit of everybody. No, I'll get beggy. Let me focus on my business. But when the time comes, they will now start crying. So when the government comes and demolish their shops, you will now see them running to the media that you did not invest in. You are now looking for civil society groups. But all the while that your shop has been there, you've been making your billions. Nobody had you don't even vote. You just stay in your house and you are criticizing politicians. You just stay, you don't want to participate. Even our business elite, they know credible candidates, but they will not support credible candidates. In all of the places where democracy is functioning, it is the people that sponsor candidates. You can't allow someone to go and spend all he has, borrow from the devil, sell all their properties, sell even their grandfather's grave to become an elected lawmaker. And you expect him to just go there and be working for the people. No, he's going to work for the people who loaned him money. So if you want him to work for you, then 1 million here, 2 million here, 5,000 here. Let us crowdfund. So I'm beginning to see that P2B has ignited something that a lot of, I'm hoping that it will be sustained, so that you will see Nigerians crowdfunding credible individuals to into public office. Because you have businessmen, yes, you don't want to speak, but your money can speak for you. You don't have to come out and carry placard, but you can buy sachet water for young people who are carrying the placards, and you can energize them and help with what they are doing. Those are several layers of mobilization and participation. About why do you pay tax? I think you benefit a lot from paying tax. At least your politicians can fly private jets and you can stay down there and wave goodbye at the aeroplane. For me, that's one of the benefits. At least we also saw our president in the new year, is it Christmas, using his long convoy and passing in a street where people are telling him that they are hungry. At least the benefit is that they can at least see, since I cannot eat, let me at least see good cars passing on the road. It's a benefit. I think that's a benefit Nigerians get from paying taxes, because they have not done the other equally important part, which is demanding for better. If you don't demand, it will not be supplied. If you don't demand for good roads will not be supplied. Nigerians are always counting on the assumed benevolence of political actors. But you have here that you have, and that benevolence is good when you have leaders who fear God, or at least man. Fearing God alone is solves all the problems. Because sometimes when you have politicians that fear man but don't fear God, it can be a tool for bad. Because they fear men, they will always want to do popular programs. For instance, in America, their politicians have succumbed to the fear of men. That's why they are passing gay laws, all of this. Not because they themselves want gay laws, but because they don't want the people to think of them as, especially in this era of cancel culture. When you don't agree with them, they deplatform you, they cancel you. So when you have politicians who fear only men, is a danger. So that's why the best thing for you to do is to have a government that fears God. But when you cannot have a government that fears God, at least get them to fear men. So in that place, Nigerian political actors majorly, there are maybe one or two of them may fear God and men, but majorly a lot of them don't fear God and they don't fear man. So in that instance, it is a gamble. It is like playing karo karo. In fact, people who are playing karo karo are better than you, when you are gambling or banking on the assumed benevolence of someone that doesn't fear God and doesn't fear man. So why will he not steal? EFCC will not catch him. Nothing will happen to him. Even if EFCC catches him, he can give a few young people 100,000 and they can go and protest that why are they catching him? Is because he's from our tribe. All the other thieves from the other tribe, have they caught all of them? So people will still defend them. And so it is our best bets to begin now to organize in several ways and in several layers, not just organizing to vote president, because even if you have a credible president, like the example I gave you before, that a governor had come to a market that caught fire and the governor wants to implement policies, but the governor says, oh, why will I spend money building new markets for them? I can as well give the market leaders 2 million each and the problem will be solved. And that's what he did, and the problem was solved. But then if you had market leaders who refused to be compromised and insisted on, this is what our fellow people are passing through, this is what we want. Governor, thank you for the 2 million you gave us, but we don't want it. Why don't you use this money to come and buy this for us? So if you don't have a credible market union leadership, even if you have a credible governor, because the governor will not come to lead in that market. So the governor will be determining the policies of the states. But when it comes to that particular market, the market leadership is the one responsible. So when you don't have responsible leadership and governance and organization at the several stratas of the society, because a lot of people say to say, oh, Buhari is not doing well, Tinubu is not doing well. Yeah, we know. But then even the market union leader, if you have credible people running your market unions, the market will do well. For instance, in the issue of market fire, and I don't know, I think I've made a video on market issue, fire outbreaks. And by the way, you will see a lot of them this year. And we're saying that a lot of the fire outbreaks you see in our markets is not as a result of a government failure. They are partly government failure and then partly personal or irresponsibility of the marketers themselves. You will see a market that they do billions in volumes of trade per annum. But instead of buying one tanker, this normal tanker that supply water in the village, buying one tanker, having the tanker on standby, employing four young people that work at shifts. Anytime there's something that's happening, just go and bring Omo and pour inside this water tank and use it to be doing the one you can do before the fire trucks arrive. As little as that. Okay, as little as ensuring standardization. When you go to these markets and you see the way they wire their shops, this one will tap current from here, the other one will tap current from here, naked wire everywhere. Just one little spark will render the billions into nothing. The market association, if they have a credible leadership, can say, look, we are going to stand, this is the quality of cables. You cannot tap current. If you want to connect wire to your shop, this is the standard, you must follow it. And every shop must be standardly wired and metered. All these haphazard illegal connections, wire here, they will cut line. If you go to the market, wire everywhere. It is not the government that will come and tell you do. So there are things that if you have credible market leadership, there are some problems that they can solve at that level. Now you that says, oh, I will wire my shop very well. If I just wire my shop very well, I'm good. If you wire your shop very well and your neighbor does not wire his or her shop very well, the day your neighbor's shop will catch fire, your own will burn with it too. That's why you can't innovate your way out of a dysfunctional society. That's why you need to be sure that you have done the right thing. But then you need to be sure that there's a leadership that is there to insist that everybody else is also doing the right thing. Because if you, for instance, obey traffic lights, and when it says red, you stop. When it says green, you go. But there is no government that will insist that everyone else will do it. That time that it will tell you green, you will see someone who is running against the traffic will come and smash you, and nothing will happen. So that's why it is not enough. Yes, you will have to obey traffic signs, but then we have to insist that our government will enforce the traffic signs. So those are the two planks that I see here. Gossin, you are unmuted now.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chima.
My dear brother, good evening.
Thank you so much for this lecture. Part of the things you mentioned to me was also what we had a discussion earlier last week where I was talking about my experience with the election. Everything you said today was exactly how I felt after the 2020 election. I felt down. I felt downcast. Like I thought about all the investment I made prior to the election, the places I went to trying to inspire young people, mobilize PVC registration and collection. Because INEC raised our hopes and we went in with that hope, convincing other people and telling them, look, this is not going to be like before. But then at the end of the day, everything happened. The same fear we had happened. It took me actually many weeks. But then I realized what you just said now, that if you actually get down or stay down and say because of what happened, I'm not going to be part of anything again, that means you've been defeated. That's actually what the establishment wants, But then thank you for these classes. I've learned a lot in Boqer School of Government, and one of the things I feel is that we really need to get this to a larger scale, larger audience, because for me, it's been a burning desire, a burning question in my heart. Like, how do we fix this country? Looking at the elections, after the election, and even the last off-cycle elections that happened in 3 states, made me begin to question if really we are going to get out of this mess through elections, or there are other ways we can get out of this. But then, since the answers are not clear, like what is the way forward? What are we going to do? Our country is going down. The quality of leaders we have are not the best of us. Like, how do we get the best of us to rule all of us? Since elections are failed, the electoral umpire has thrown the people, and it seems like nothing is going to happen. These are the questions that are burning in my heart. But then I believe with platforms like the Boqer School of Government, we continue to hear these things, continue to put them into practice. I believe we can be able to, do that. But then, I'm grateful for all that you have taught since I joined us, and I'm looking forward to more, and most especially how we can be able to scale this. Because each time I'm listening to these things, I feel like I've met many young people in many rooms where I feel these are Nigerians' future, and I think they should be listening to this, because for me, each time I get into these rooms, I'm always concerned about ideologies that are mainstream in these people, because I believe that the ideas of today leaders will be the reflection of society tomorrow. The current Nigeria that we have is actually a reflection of the ideas of people that have been leading us over the years. And yeah, you also mentioned about business. When this current administration came to power, 29th of May, just in a speech, the president announced subsidy is gone. I run a small business that needs power every day with power, and the prices of fuel went up by either 200% or more. And then we are faced with the challenge of increased operation costs while you're trying to maintain old customers who want the same old price. So you either go out of business or you start looking for new markets. So it really hits me, it affected me even till now. The other day I started looking for other alternatives. So that's how bad it is when people don't really get involved because they think their government does not concern them. But then politics affects you whether you like it or not. As long as you are existing, any policy that the government of your state or your local government or even the federal government makes affects people on a large scale, definitely affects you. Yeah. So these are my thoughts. For now, I think my spirit is lifted. I'm committed to this. I just want to be part of any movement, any initiative, any program, advocacy, whatever that is going to continue to keep these conversations afresh in the minds of young people. Because I know that when I look at things that's happening, they also remind me of the things that needs to be done, like the responsibilities that is on our shoulders, the kind of system we are going to inherit, and the challenges that ahead of us. So thank you so much, Mr. Chima. This is just my contribution. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my dear brother. Because I interact with a lot of young Nigerians daily, and you're also aware of the work we do, because we don't just teach, we go in the field and practice it. I have come in contact with a lot of people who say, oh no, we won't vote again. But then it's because they have not been taught well. Or the ideas they have not been fine-tuned, and they've not come to places like this. But then what we're doing is the Lord's work. Yeah, we will have to, as individuals, use a potpourri of marketing mix to advertise it and do the best we can as human beings. But this is our 8th class, so it's still starting, and I have no doubt that the nation will hear our voice, and that these ideas you're hearing now become mainstream ideas. It will take a lot of hard work, and we're prepared to do them. It will take a lot of strategy. It will take a lot of leveraging on resources. And then as you're here, if there are young people like you who you feel that at least 8 of us or 7 of us on the platform, who you feel that they should hear this, maybe during our next class, invite them or download one of our episodes. You know how to get our episodes. You can just go to t.me/Boqer School. So telegram.me, t.me/Boqer School. I'll also share the link on the group. Or just tell anybody to search Boqer School of Government on any platform, Facebook, YouTube, music streaming platforms. I think we are on Google Podcast, and then I believe we're also on, it's not Netflix, what's the name of the other one now? One of the other streaming platforms. So just search for, you will see our previous episodes. They are uploaded weekly, so you can take any one you like and send someone the recording and say, watch this video or listen to this audio and then join this class. It will be, just drag someone along, so that way more people are hearing what you're hearing. And then as you're here, even if you don't bring in people, I'm also trusting that as we now say this, these things are contagious. You might be in a conversation tomorrow and someone says, oh, leave that, Jerry, I'm not voting. And then instead of you to say, me too, I'm not voting, you are going to now come with a better perspective. And maybe if you give them reasons, they will now say, that thing you are saying makes sense. So, because a lot of people don't actually think about what they say. They just move on with the popular trend without thinking about it. So if we can make persistence popular, then it will become popular. So that will be my point on that. And as to, I will repeat this point, there is no way you will go to, and governance supply is much more ahead of governance demand. No. INEC is giving us the kind of elections they are giving us because that is what we want. That is what we have demanded. If we demand better, they will give us better. And mind you, demanding is not crying after each election and then going to bed. As we speak today, do you know that electoral reforms are ongoing? But you will not hear Nigerians discussing it. You will not hear. It is the same people that routinely steal election from us. Those are the people leading electoral reforms. And after a while, they will plant something there. And then on the election day, that mine they planted will detonate and everybody will cry. So being proactive, Nigerians are not in many senses. We know what these politicians will do. They don't invent their strategies from the sky. These things are easy to anticipate, but if you anticipate them, you have to mitigate them. But we don't anticipate, we don't mitigate, and we don't even show them that we can take an action if they steal our mandate. For instance, someone can steal the collective destiny of millions of Nigeria, and we are sitting down looking at him. Why won't he do it again? But then if he does it, and the judges that will determine that matter, every day we're on their case, not tweeting about it, but actually doing something about it. I believe that outcome. But then we're not going to recriminate what has happened. It has happened, but we have opportunities going forward. If we demand a better electoral cycle, believe me, yes, we may demand for 10 things, they might supply 3. But then it's better than not saying anything and they do anything they want, because that's what Nigerians are. Where Nigerians are now. I will not do anything, I will not say anything, whatever they want, let them do. But the outcome is all over you, it's all over your business, it's all over security. In fact, you know that even rich Nigerians cannot help themselves again. Once you have Nigerian passports, I think it was either Dubai or is it UAE, I've forgotten one of the Arab nations, that turned back the flight of Nigerians. Nigerians were just heading into the country and they turned back the flight completely. They are not asking you whether you came on first class. They're not asking you whether you have diplomatic passports. They're not asking you whether you have diplomatic immunity. They're not asking you whether, even if Dangote was on that flight, Oga, everybody go back home. We don't want you. That's what you can get from a dysfunctional government. So you being a big man does not count here. There are some countries that have outrightly said, we don't want to have Nigerians here. So once you have Nigerian passports, you can't go there no matter how rich you are. You can't go. And more countries are joining the fray. So if we think, oh, let us just, and a time will come, say that I told you. When Canada is done, they will push out Nigerians. They'll say, we don't want. Today, you see them wanting, they don't like us. They don't. They are not opening their borders because they like us. What they are doing is that they are taking the very best of us. For instance, before you go to Canada today, under some visa arrangements, you need to prove that you have 20 million. Why do they need 20 million? It's the same thing they did during slave trade, because during the slave trade, before you are bought as a slave, they need to inspect you that you are physically fit, that you can farm on plantations and you can do the work, cutting plantations. So they need physically viable people. And that's what they do with visa interviews. They want to make sure that you have the intellect to contribute to their economy. They want to make sure that at least someone that has made 20 million in Nigeria, if you put him in Canada, he will do well. They are not looking for barrel pushers, because actually the people that need the opportunities to travel are those but those are not the people. They are looking at our bankers. Those are people. They are looking at our university lecturers. They are looking at our teachers. Today they are looking at so they are looking for the best. They pick the best. Their visa and immigration policies are targeted at the people they need, and they will take them. When they have found that they have no need for us, those countries will begin to push back Nigerians. Go home, go home, go home, go home, go home. And so that's why, since we find ourselves here, even running away is not part of the equation, because Yes, you might now be a very accomplished university professor in the UK, but make sure that you took all your village members with you. And also make sure that people will not tell you one day, you Nigerians, see what I'm hearing in the news about your country. Well, that's it for that. So we'll continue to innovate, we'll continue to engage. Lastly on this, after 93 election was annulled, our parents lost. This same thing that happened in 2003 has happened before. Abiola's election was more electrifying than Peter Obi's election. Just go to YouTube and watch the videos of Hope 93. Just go to YouTube and type Hope 93 jingles, and you see the kind of jingle. And you remember that was not during the time of social media. It was during the time of NTA. It was time of network news. So during network news, Abiola's jingle will be blasting all over the place. Hope 93, they were dancing. These your guys that invented the Mama Pikin, Mama Papa Pikin. No, they had better slogans in 93. Our parents were ecstatic. They were so happy. They came out, they voted. I think it's option A something they called it. And right before their very eyes, just like Mahmoud was telling everybody before the international television, Babangida with his gap tooth annulled the elections. And their hope were annulled. And that generation, some of them have not voted from that time till now. And so you had a 30-year inactive citizen participation. An experience of 1993, they allowed it. Say, that's even us now. Because I think someone said that our youths were not voting. Is what we learned from our parents. They are still in the trauma of what happened in 1993, and that's the trauma they passed on to us. Votes don't count. Votes don't count. After this thing, they will still do what they want. We had it first from our parents, and I'm telling you, it was all in 1993. And some of the elections that happened before then. And so they allowed themselves to be trapped in the prison of 1993. Yes, they entered 1999 with the trauma of 1993. And that was why they kept getting the experience of 1993. If you had had that generation engage the system, actively say, okay, we were disappointed, but yet we will continue moving. If they had continued, believe me, Nigeria will not be the way it is. And what I'm saying now is because part of why we're doing at Boqer, and part of why we need to, mainstream it by the message of God, is that if you allow this NSAS generation, they have been totally defeated. For the next 30 years, they're not going to do anything. And they are going to pass on that defeatism or that weakness or that, hopelessness to their children. Because they tell you, oh, we came out to protest. They killed us. Okay, we now say, let us vote. Even the small votes we wanted to use to hold body, they even went there and did INEC on it. Therefore, and I'm saying to you, if you go back home, what guarantee do you have that it will be better? If you say, okay, no more politics, let me focus on my business, what guarantee? If we act, we can, even if they had planned to do 10 bad things, we can restrict them to doing just 7, and we're still good. But then, if they plan to do 10 bad things, and nobody says PIM, they will do the 10 bad things and still add a jara to it. Even a terrible government like Tinubu now, if you have an active citizen, if you have Nigerians who are active, if Tinubu plans to do 10 bad things, if he sees the kind of engagement we are engaging, he might reduce it to 3. If he plans to do 2 good things, if we demand more, we can force him to increase it to 5. And so even within a terrible government, the platform, where we are studying today, will tell you that within a terrible government, that the government is terrible because you are not living up to your expectations. Because Tinubu's responsibility is to supply governance, but God sends Esther's, Chinaro, Dito, Livingstone's, everyone here, our responsibility is to demand. And where we don't live up to that responsibility, it is not only Tinubu that is failing, we are also failing. So the supply side guys are failing, the demand side guys are also failing. And we're telling you that the supply side guys, their failure is more pronounced because they are where people are seeing it. But I'm telling you that they are failing because the demand side guys are not working. If I, Chima Christian, demand more, if Godson demands more, if Livingstone demand, if all of us demand more, and we get Nigerians to demand more, believe me, the supply side guys will not have any other option. Not because they are good people. Tinubu will never be good. He is a made man. Because there are some places, there are some things you will get to in life. You see that this person has been fully formed. I'm not expecting Tinubu to change. No. But I know that even as a terrible president that he is, if I engage and force him, I can force his hands to move. So when you see us moving on with this energy and zest, like we are mobilizing, some of you are aware that I got a random idea and I tweeted about it, and we are planning now, we're going to have a solidarity peace walk in Abuja to show that we are not happy with the killings going on in the Middle Belt. And so people are saying, will they change? Will they? Oh, I'm not doing this so that Tinubu will change. I'm not expecting him to change. I'm not expecting him to change, but I'm expecting him to at least say, what will Chima say? What will they say? Because they fear, they read all those things, they see it. If 1 million Nigerians are on the street today to demonstrate anger at what happened in the Christmas Eve and what has continued to happen after that, believe me, the government would have responded differently. But if we just say, now wow, every day they are killing people, you move on. You just move past the dead body and say, now wow, you move on. That's what Nigerians are doing. And that's not what all of us at Boqer School will do. We have learned better, and we're going to engage better, and we're going to mobilize others to engage these systems. Finally, Esther, we will take your question and then we'll call it a night.
This is like the first political meeting I'm attending online, and I've learned a lot, and I've had this shifts in mindsets concerning the government, the society, and our participation in making our society better. So the past election actually watered down the desires of so many youths in participating in political affairs, especially I could not even get my PVC after trying so many, going from one place to the other, and then the outcome of the lawsuits and all that. But then when you were teaching, I just had to reflect on where I live currently. We've been having this security issue for a while now, and we've been trying to, at a point, we depended on the law enforcement agencies, the police and all, but they ended up disappointing. Not until the youths and the men in the area decided to work together with the local security to ensure that people are at home and then they are safe, and it actually worked. So I think so many people don't understand their role in making Nigeria better, in making their little society better, not just their families. We've all grown up with this selfish mindset. Me, my family, let's all be good. Let's just live peacefully. Let's have a beautiful life. And we can see it in the way many people are running away from the country just because they want to have this feel of a different society. They want to enjoy other people's work. But then I just hope that I hope more people will realize that collectiveness in achieving a goal means a lot, and it will help in building what we want to achieve. It's not okay to just rely on our leaders. Just as I said, we have a lot of irresponsible leaders now. Leaders that are not God-fearing. Leaders that hardly give respect to us, especially the youth. But if we can all come together in unity and then say we want to achieve this goal and then be consistent and persistent about it, I believe one day our nation, Nigeria, will become better. Thank you so much, Mr. Chima.
Thank you, and I'm happy that we're able to drag you to the class. I mean, I think we used, is it bulldozer or caterpillar that we used to drag you now, but I'm happy that you came and then you had a shift in mindset. And in fact, do you know why a lot of people have a shift in mindset when they come to our programs? Because some of the things we are saying, they already know it innately. They already, there are things you will agree with, but because it hasn't been presented to you, You will like it, but because you've not seen it, you don't contemplate it. So it's not as if we're teaching anything. These things are very simple, basic things, but they are not discussed. People are discussing other things. And you also see that Jesus is also right when he says that the problem is not that there is no light. He says that there is light, but people prefer to stay in darkness. There is light, but people prefer to stay in darkness. Let me tell you this, maybe it's not our topic, but maybe it can help someone, especially for people who will eventually amass influence. When you start out in the journey of influence, you will start out leading your audience, and eventually the audience will start leading you. And you know why? Because of where we're at today. Because they fear neither God nor man. So once you start as a social media influencer, very soon you will find out what you write and people will respond. So me, as a writer, I'm the speaker. I know what I will say now. My Twitter will be on fire. But that's not what I want to say. I would rather say what I want to say, no matter how unpopular it is. So my engagement of Twitter is not to amass followers or to say what will trend, but to focus on the society. There's a goal I want to achieve. That is where I'm going to. But a lot of celebrities are interested in their numbers. They're not interested in the society. They're interested in being popular. So you see people who started out posting good content. All of a sudden, they found out that, look, people don't like all these things. Just every topical issue, just go there and offer unsolicited advice. And people will be retweeting it. I saw on Twitter, people wake up by 5:30. I was wondering what they are saying. Till today, I don't know. I just knew that they were discussing about someone waking up by 5:30 to cook or something. That's it. I don't know the story. I don't want to know. It's not my business. It's not my area of calling. It's not my specialty. But then, because it's a topical issue, I could have quickly Googled it. Okay, this is what happened. And I'll now corner 2K view on it. And I'll post it. And then, all of a sudden, 3,000 retweets. Because you have a society that is pursuing nothing. Especially young people. And we can also use our time to engage in these matters. They may be unpopular, they may not trend, but then we know that even if it is only 2 people that hear it, that it has made a substantial impact. But then I can make a tweet and it will be retweeted 5,000 times, but I did not help one person there. Not one person read my tweet and became better. Not one person. In fact, as a matter of fact, I can even say things that they want to say. Like if I go online now and say, INEC is a big fool, Tinubu is a big fool, I will not vote again. In fact, I will now come and make a video where I am burning my PVC. That video will go viral. Or I can just, Tinubu is a terrible person, that I will put my PVC and burn it. It will go viral. I can assure you that, because the minds of this generation can be hacked. And that's what your celebrities are doing. They know what you want. They know what people want to hear. And they're saying it. Whether or not that is what they want to say is a different thing. Whether or not what they are saying will help the society is a different thing. And they are too afraid now to say what they should say, because they are afraid of their followers cancelling them. And so you see the problem with fearing man. You must always keep your eyes on God. If you take it away from God and put it on man, you might have following, but eventually the popular masses will tell you, mold us a golden calf, and you will mold for them. And that is what celebrities do. That's what politicians do in places where politicians stop fearing God and they are fearing man. So thank you everyone for coming. Eventually the podcast will be available. We'll edit it and put it up there. I'll invite you to please share it with 1 or 2 people. Invite people to join our group, to like our page, attend our classes. And then follow Boqer School of Government on all platforms, especially the one you like engaging in. So we sometimes clip out 3 minutes video, 2 minutes video, and we post. And you can take those 2 minutes video, share it on your timeline, just send it to specific individuals and see what those videos and audios will do to their lives. So thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate each and every one of us. My name is Chima Christian, Africa's